Back. So now we have a context here. Now it's time to kind of create our find all method right here and make that actually talk to a data source. And we're going to do a test driven again, but I have to use a little bit of integration testing right here. At least that's what I feel it is, because we have to go and create a couple of fake entities in order to make this work in our system. We're still going to use in-memory database, so it's not going to be like creating a real database, but we still need to have the mindset about how our data will actually be created in a database. I'm still using this NT framework testing mock right here, and let me show you the link for that up here inside GitHub. So you can go and check that out if you want to, and use that for your mocking of your data. And we're going to this lesson try and use it to actually create a list of products and then use that to do test-driven development to create our find all method inside our repository right here. So that's kind of what we're going to try and achieve this lesson. Let's jump down to our repository test, where I already created a test we're going to complete. We have find all right here. That's the name for the method that we're going to test. And if I go back, you'll notice that's the name right here. The second thing in my test is that we want to say get all product entities in DBContext. That's what I actually want to get from this method right here. And then the final thing is that it's going to be as a list of products. And if you go back to the repository, you'll notice that it returns a list of products. So that's kind of what I'm explaining in the final part of the test. And we're going to start just like we did before. We're going to start with a mock DBContext. We're going to create a repository that uses this context, but now we need to set up a fake list of data. So we fake that we have a real database right here in order to continue. So let's just start by creating a couple of fake product entities right here. So I'll make a new product entity. Actually, I'll make a new list containing a couple of product entities, just to get started. So let's start there, and there we'll have the first entity right here. We'll just be right here, new product entity. Let's just put in the ID of 1 and a name of Lego 1. You can put in anything you want right here. It's just for testing purposes. Lego 1, there we go. I'll do another one just to kind of have a few. I'll actually do 2 or 3. There we go. And we'll call this 2 and we'll call this 3. So we have some test data now that we can actually use in our system. Now this, I would probably put that into some helper classes so I don't have to do this manually every time. So now we have a list of product entities which are kind of what's going to be put inside our database. How do we add that to the fake DB context so it knows what's inside the database? Let's try and go and check it out. I'm back on the page right here for this framework, and I'll go all the way to the bottom, and there's actually a place here where you can say mock DB context set and then put in the name of the entity you want to set, and then you can add a range to that entity right here. So let's try and do that. I'll go, after I've created the list right here, I'll say fake context.set like this, and then I'm going to say it's going to be a list of product entities like this, and there what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to add a range of these product entities right here, and then I'm just going to pass in that list right there like this, and there we go. Now we have actually a fake repository that knows how to get a list of fake product entities in memory. So it's more like an integration test now, but it's still in memory, so it shouldn't be slow, it should be kind of fast because it's in memory that we're building all of this. So now that we've faked our database to kind of have these 3 products, let's try and figure out what we actually expect the result to be when we call the find all method right here in our system. We expect it to return a list of products, not product entities. So let's go back to the test and just create such an expected list right here. Expected list. This is what I'm expecting to get back from my request. And that's going to be equal the list where we actually select to change each of these product entities into actual products. You can use selects. And let me show you how we do it. We do a product entity, just PE, and then we expect it to return a new product instead, like this. Now, that's the easiest way to use the select statement, but we're not quite there yet. What we want the product actually to contain is, of course, the ID from the product entity, and we also expect it to contain the name from the entity. So that's what I expect to get back when I'm calling this method right here. I need to do one more thing, because the final thing I want is actually calling toList, because I expect it should also kind of convert this list into a list instead of, this is not a list, this is actually what we call an IEnumerable T result right here, but I want it to be a list. So that's the expected result that I want to get when the code is actually executed. So that's kind of, we've set up everything that we need. Now we need to act. By the way, these terms I'm using right here is actually taken directly from the site right here where he uses these terms, and I think it's a pretty good way to kind of say we're going to arrange everything, we're going to act and do something, and then we're going to assert to see what actually happened. So I like those terms, so that's why I'm putting them in here. I know that's just basic unit testing, but just to kind of mention it for you guys if you never used it before. What do we want to do? Well, we want to actually end up with an actual result right here, and the actual result is going to come from us calling repository.findAll. That's the actual result right here. And then the final thing we need to do is an assert. So I'll just do an assert right here. Assert, there we go. And that assert is just going to do an assert.equal this time. And we'll equal and say, is the expected result the same as the actual result? That's all we need to kind of do in order to make this unit test work right here. And let's just try and run the unit test now and see what happens. So as expected, this actually fails right here with the not implemented exception right here. So next lesson, what we're going to do is actually we're going to go and fix that so that hopefully we can start getting back the actual result as expected instead of just getting a null reference exception right here.